Can you tell us more about the kind of scenarios that some of these new rules aim to address?
Yes. Well, exactly as laid out, and I think my minister also gave a heads up during the recent budget debates. At this time, MDA is planning to do a public consultation on 3 areas that have been raised to our attention. Firstly, as mentioned just now, where there are changes to the contract terms which are detriment to the consumer, whether or not the subscriber should be able to exit that contract without paying penalties. This is one area that we'd like to seek views about. The second is where a consumer feels forced to upgrade certain aspects of his plan, even though he had no desire to do so. This may occur in a scenario where he is in a bundled contract and he may want to have certain aspects of that contract upgraded, the TV service upgraded, for example. That should not cause him to be forced to upgrade different parts of that bundled contract. So again, that's another area that we'd like to consult on. The third area is somewhat similar to what we mentioned just now in the telco situation, where the consumers may not be aware of some of the important details in the contract. Now, I think it is going to be very difficult for every consumer to read through every single word of that contract. We want to see if we should require the pay TV service provider to highlight important aspects of that contract to the consumer so that he's definitely aware before he signs off that contract. So at this time, we've put these 3 areas together. We're in the final stages of putting together the consultation document, and we'd like to seek views on that.
Okay, so we're looking for public feedback on those areas as well.
Right, yes.
Your reactions to what you've just heard? Anyone?
I think that's a positive move for sure. Same thing with telcos, you know. Consumers sometimes find themselves in a situation, especially I think what the gentleman before was talking about was about football. I think football contracts, you know, which, you know, if you're halfway through a season, you can't say, you know, I stopped watching my team. So I think it's definitely a positive move. Again, same issue that brought up for the the telco contracts. Same thing. I think the question is more of competition rather than contracts. If there was more competition, then perhaps telcos or pay TV operators would not be so inclined to try to lock in people with long contracts. You know, they would, you know, consumers would jump to the next pay TV operator if possible.
But I think at the same time, we must be careful not to tie the hands of our service providers too tightly, because I mean, eventually, something has to give. So it could be in the form of higher prices because service operators have to price in that uncertainty, because they're not sure they will be able to respond to the market. So I guess there's always a flip side, and we must always consider the unintended consequences of regulation.
And I guess also because many of these companies are working on a base, they're trying to, the most common denominator for the largest group of people, you know, because otherwise they'd have 50 different smaller packages, each, you know, catering to a certain cluster of people. I mean, is that a possible way forward, where we start personalizing more services, again, making it more specific, where I only pay for what I want to watch in that sense, you know? I mean, is that a route that could possibly take place as well?
Well, I think that's up to the service providers to decide what route they would like to take.
How do you feel, Kenny? You're the consumer. I mean, you've just heard about some of these measures. Do you feel a bit more reassured?
I definitely agree that having the consultation would be a great idea. It's only fair that we get to have a say on our contracts and make adjustments or cancel our contract when the mobile subscriber, the pay TV subscriber actually change certain parts to it. But in whole and whole, right, I believe that bundling services for pay TV wise might be the way to go, because a lot of consumers, if you understand their behavior, they don't really know what they want to watch. And many of us just switch on the TV just to have that background ambience, just to have that voice behind. So if we were really to subscribe pay as you watch, right, I don't think the pay TV subscribers can go a long way, in my opinion, unless they are operating like what Netflix does in the US.